Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. I hope we're going to have a good evening. I'm starting this episode with the sun going down because we have some work to do in the dark, my friends. Dark and devious work indeed. We are going to be trying our best today to find and cure a zombie villager, and for that I have started to put some potions here in our brewing stands, but I'm going to need a couple of other things before we set out. I've got my Elytra on me. I'm actually going to use those to get to an area that is nice and dark so we can do our interesting work here. I'm not entirely certain how this is going to work out. Now, I need to find a couple of things. There we go. We've got some name tags. Fantastic. I'm going to change one of these name tags to something. Name tags are a very interesting thing in Minecraft because they prevent entities that you have name tagged from despawning. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, a creeper or a skeleton or something that you're fighting, some kind of hostile mob, which would normally despawn if you get like a certain distance away from it. Like at 32 blocks away, this mob will stop moving and it will probably despawn. It has a chance to despawn. At 128 blocks away from this thing, it will permanently despawn. If you name tag a thing, that does not happen to it, which is very useful when it comes to capturing zombie villagers. Because zombie villagers are occasional zombies that will pop up and they are kind of converted villagers. It is possible to cure these guys and convert them back. The problem with them is that unless they occur very close to where you have your base and where you have all of the equipment that you need to cure said zombie villager, they tend to despawn before you got back to them with all of the stuff you need to cure them. So one of the things it is a good idea to do is set up a name tag that you can name tag the zombie villager with, capture it in some way, and then come back to it, and then you can be guaranteed that it will not despawn. So as insurance against any kind of despawning issue with a zombie villager, we are going to name this one Patient Zero, and that name is not necessarily going to last after they have been cured, but we have a name tag so that if necessary, we can name tag our zombie villager if we happen to find one. Now, the other things we will need, I will get to later, but first off, we're going to start by grabbing some blocks of some kind. I'm probably going to go with wood, just because it's a relatively easy to break substance, but you can just as easily surround them with other materials like leaves and so forth. The main thing is, you want some kind of solid material to surround the zombie with in case the sun comes up and it starts to burn in the sunlight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Elytra and we're going to fly a decent distance away. We're going to go up into the hills where the Sugarcane Farm is, and that's mainly because I've been working on it. I want to show you guys the progress. I'm working on making this a more kind of medieval looking build, a little bit more organized though, a little bit more refined and straightforward. It's got a lot of wooden beams in it, it's got some nice wool, it's going to look nice and bright, and it's going to stand out up here on the hilltop, but I haven't quite finished working on that yet. I've been doing a little bit of that off camera, and I will introduce that to you once we've done a little bit more work. Now, the work we have to do tonight is finding a zombie villager, and that is easier said than done because zombie villagers don't make up a very large portion of zombies. You will often find a lot more zombies than you will find zombie villagers. Sometimes you'll find zombie villagers in caves. Like other mobs, they will spawn at night or anywhere that it is dark enough. But oh, there's one now. Look at that. Oh, hello. And there's another zombie in my face. Oh, made me jump there. Get away from me. Now, this guy looks like a likely candidate. Now, the cool thing about trapping zombie villagers is that it's quite easy to do. All you need to have is some blocks on your bar, and you need to get a decent distance away from the zombie, but far enough away that it is still tracking you, and hopefully far enough away from any other mobs that might potentially try and knock you off this pillar that we're going to make. We're going to make a 2-block high pillar. And now look, if I'm standing on this, zombie can't get me. It's pretty easy. So all we need to do is add a couple of blocks around him like so, and and hopefully if we can do that like that. Yes, perfect. There we go. Zombie is now trapped, and zombie cannot move anywhere. Zombie will still be able to hit you through corner, but zombie is... Oh, hello. Turns out the other zombies have taken an interest. Well, we can get rid of these guys with our bow here. And, oh, there's another guy behind me as well. Hi. The good thing about standing up on these 2 tall pillars, of course, is that the other zombies won't be able to get you either. But as I have cautioned you guys before, make sure that you don't swipe too close to this guy with your sweep attack with your sword, because chances are you might end up hitting the zombie villager, and if he's one that you want to save, that could be a problem. Now, the next test is to see whether or not this zombie can hold items, and this is quite an interesting one because it actually means that we wouldn't need to use the name tag on him at all, because entities which are holding items do not despawn either, and this is one such zombie example. Now, zombies of all kinds can hold items. It isn't just zombie villagers, but entities holding items will not despawn. And that actually proves very useful in the eventuality that, for example, you die and a zombie picks up your sword. It would be very unfair of the game to have that zombie despawn with your really nice diamond sword. So the game makes sure that anything that picks up an item does not despawn and does not leave the world. Even if you get 128 blocks away from it, it will not disappear. So we don't even need to use our name tag on this guy. The next thing we need to do is cover him up and make it daytime, because daytime is safer than nighttime, and I prefer to do my curing during the day. Now, the fun thing about this is that he still counts as a monster, even though he is trapped, so we've actually been told to sleep somewhere a little bit further away. There we go, and I'll try and make sure that this area is free of creepers as well once we get to daytime, because even though the zombies and skeletons will burn, the creepers will not, and it is better to work in an area free of potential explosions. In fact, just as a quick example, I might do a quick journey out to the plains biome over here using my Elytra. Let's go as far as the swamp, actually. And my goal here is to go 128 blocks away from the area we were just in, so that all of the monsters that were there automatically despawn. And this will not only prove to you that the zombie holding a wooden plank will not despawn, but it's also going to clear the area of creepers and stuff for me. So I think that's probably been about 128 blocks, or near enough. It's certainly a good distance away from where we were. So let's take a quick fly back over the farm. Doesn't this place look great from the air so far? And you can get a better look at this building now that it's not nighttime. I think that's looking pretty good so far. Right, let's try and swoop up here. Oh, we hit our heads on the gravel mountain, but we are 100% fine. And as you can see, not so many creepers around here now, which is pretty good. The cool thing about this little catchment thing here, this little box that we put him in, is that we can take out the side here, and because he's got a block over his head, he doesn't burn. Now, sometimes zombies can also wear armor. You can actually give armor to them. Zombie villagers, I don't know if it's possible to give them armor and then have the armor show up on them, like they're not wearing the armor. I'm not certain if you can do that or not, if they spawn with helmets and so forth, but helmets will actually stop a zombie from burning in the sun as well, which is why you may have noticed occasionally a zombie or a skeleton wearing armor showing up around here, and it hasn't actually despawned during the day. The armor they're wearing will eventually break and they will start to take fire damage, but that takes a little bit longer. Anyway, we have ourselves our Patient Zero. We haven't even had to name tag Patient Zero, and one of the reasons I want to show you curing a zombie villager is because of the episode where we brought the two villagers over to our house. And while that wasn't super difficult to do, it can be a very difficult process, especially if the village that you're going to is a long distance away from the place where you want to have everything set up. So it's quite nice to be able to cure a zombie villager nice and close to home. And so this is quite a valuable skill when it comes to making custom villages, maybe even setting up a villager breeder or an iron farm later, both of which are subjects that we will get into in future episodes. But this is the start of potentially getting a larger population of villagers over here, and it can be something that you can do, you know, on the off chance that a zombie villager appears and you have the materials with which to cure him. Now, let's talk about those materials. Let's talk about the materials you need to cure a zombie villager. You will need a potion of weakness, a splash potion of weakness, actually. Oh, and I've got a spider eye in here, so I don't even need to worry about grabbing one out of this chest. You'll need a splash potion of weakness, and you will need a golden apple. Now, golden apples sound like they're quite expensive, and they are quite expensive, really. You can occasionally find them in dungeon chests, or you can make one using 8 gold ingots and a regular apple, which I can grab out of whichever chest I've left the apples in. There's one now, so I don't have to use up the one that's in my ender chest, and I can keep that there. The golden apple is quite easily taken care of as long as you've harvested a few oak trees and gotten yourself some gold, which is relatively easy. It comes out of the ground. The next thing is a splash potion of weakness, and those are interesting. They are kind of unique among potions in that they are the only thing that you can brew without the need for netherwort. All you will need is a fermented spider eye. Not a regular one, but a fermented one. And let me show you how you get hold of one of those. First, you will need some sugar, and then you will need a brown mushroom, which I do not currently have. So I might have to go on a bit of a hunt for brown mushrooms. I think they are probably most easily found in locations around here in the swamp over there. So let me quickly fly over there and see if we can spot a brown mushroom. There we go, there was one sat under this tree, perfect, and there are a few others around here, so in the event that we will need any more brown mushrooms, I can always come back to this swamp and find them. The combination of a spider eye, a brown mushroom, and some sugar in a crafting interface will get you a fermented spider eye. Do not ask me why, because I have absolutely no idea what any of this recipe means. But anyway, like I said, a fermented spider eye is something you can pop in a brewing stand. Notice these are water bottles and not awkward potions. I haven't applied netherwort to them at all. Pop that in there. It will start to brew a splash potion of weakness, or rather a potion of weakness, sorry. We need to add the splash effect as we normally do by using gunpowder on it after it is finished brewing. There we go, we have 3 potions of weakness lasting 1 minute 30, and if we add the splash to that as well, we will get 3 splash potions. And that is really all you need with the splash potion with the golden apple, but there are a couple of other things we can use to speed up the process of curing this zombie. Now let me grab some iron ingots out of here. In fact, we already have some iron bars in here. We're turning the rest of those iron ingots into iron bars as well, and let's grab our splash potion of weakness. Now we should only need 1 of those and 1 golden apple. And the iron bars are kind of an interesting thing that gets overlooked when it comes to zombie villager curing, because it's not wholly necessary, it's just a way for you to save a little bit of time. On returning to your zombie villager, you take your splash potion of weakness in hand, get a reasonable distance away, and lob it straight at his face. You might take a little bit of the weakness effect yourself, but you'll notice these particles coming off him, which means he has been affected by the weakness potion. You then get the golden apple and right-click on him with it, and he will start to sizzle and shake, and he will start the curing process. At this point, you can surround him with a bunch of materials, and iron bars are actually useful for this, because the game kind of encourages you to imprison these zombie villagers and keep them in some sort of like cage like this, so the presence of iron bars nearby them will actually speed up the healing process. Now, I don't recommend completely surrounding your zombie villager with iron bars, because A, removing some of these blocks might cause him to escape, and B, if he steps out into the sunlight, he will start to take fire damage. In this process, while he is converting from a zombie villager into a regular villager, he can still burn in the sunlight. While he is still curing, other zombies might decide to attack him as well. He starts to count as a villager, or at least not as a regular zombie, and hostile zombies will actually try and attack him. So be very careful to protect your villager if you can, and having the iron bars around him like this will also be an aid to that process. Having taken a quick look at the Minecraft wiki, apparently putting a bed nearby will also help this process, maybe because it kind of acts like a block in a jail cell, for example. Like he's curing, he needs some rest, but he needs to be contained, that kind of thing. So having beds and iron bars nearby apparently speeds up the process by about 4%, so it's really not that quick. Normally, a villager will take between 2 and 5 minutes to cure, so you're looking at a decent chunk of your Minecraft day, and you may want to use the bed yourself if the sun starts to go down, because you don't necessarily want other monsters to come out while you are undertaking this process. And with that sound and the zombie doctor goal comes up on the screen, we have ourselves a completely cured villager. And he is a cleric who will trade us rotten flesh for emeralds. Amazingly, seems to have forgotten all about his previous life as a zombie, and he has now got a few trades that we can unlock right here at our base. And that's how you cure a zombie villager. It is that simple. And the most important thing really is to keep other mobs away from your villager during this process and make sure that you can provide a safe shelter for the villager when he is ready to be reintegrated into society. Now, I do want to make sure that we get him back to a reasonable location around our base, so I might pop down a boat and row him back over to the farm. Having a cleric around is actually going to be pretty useful, because I've been in need of a decent rotten flesh trade for a little while. We've been able to gather a decent amount of it, having fought a whole bunch of zombies in our time, and I feel like this guy would be a great addition to the little crew of villagers I seem to be integrating into my house. So if you'd like to get into the boat at any point, that would be really good of you. Maybe I should take the boat up for a second and wait for him to run out of this little impromptu cell that we created and put him in the boat. Or maybe I can just do this. Whoa! Yes, okay, we got him. Cool. Step into the boat and I will take you on a grand adventure. It's always fun going down mountains in boats. Sploosh! There we go. We've made it to the river. Fantastic. And the back door of our house is just over here, so it's really not that long a trip. See, this is a whole lot easier than it was taking him back from the village. And oh, wow, okay, he flew a little bit there for a second. Did you guys see that? That was hilarious. I think that was just a weird teleportation glitch. Sometimes it doesn't have a great time registering the position of boats in the world, but there we go. And there was a weird chunk error kind of thing around here. Again, probably just a rendering bug. Nothing too much to worry about. Let's take this guy out of the boat. If I can score a decent hit on the hitbox of the boat, there we go, and get him up onto the shore. Fantastic. Now, hopefully, it shouldn't take long for him to register that doorway over there and decide to climb up. Alternatively, we could probably just nudge him towards the grass over here, pop the boat down there-ish. There we go, and we can row him over to the door. Brilliant stuff. In you come, join the family. There we go. You can probably have tea with the librarian over here. In fact, I plan on trading with this guy a little bit today because I have a decent amount of sugarcane up in that farm now. Well, they're already getting social. I don't know if he's going to step into this minecart or not. Chances are he might not, because it's just placed down on a powered rail and we don't have any power going to it. Maybe we could trap him in here a little bit. And do I have any kind of quick redstone source I can put down to power that rail? Let me see if I got a lever in here. Yep, got a lever there. Let's see if we can get that minecart moving. Well, either way, while he's in here, we can at least try and trade some rotten flesh with him, can't we? Let's grab this out of here. And we've got a few stacks. That should probably do. Let's leave a couple of those in here, just so I've got a placeholder for it. Oh, you're in that corner now, are you? Fair enough. Have some rotten flesh. Here we go. We can trade a few emeralds with this guy. Unlock some of his early trades, maybe. There we go. What have you got? Oh, 1 emerald for 1 lapis, 1 emerald for 1 redstone. These aren't the greatest trades in the world, but he's a pretty decent emerald farm if we just give him a decent amount of rotten flesh. That's not too much of a problem. 1 emerald for 3 glowstone is not bad either. That's a fun trade, especially when you start running out of it in close proximity in the nether. Always worth having a good glowstone trade around. Let's see if he'll give us a decent price on some of the later stuff. And 6 emeralds for a bottle of enchanting. Isn't the best trade, but it's still decent. And it's fun to have a source of bottles of enchanting as well. They're a nice little source of experience if you want a quick splash of the stuff. There we go. Put the glowstone in there. Put the emeralds away in here. And let's go and get some paper. I better keep an eye on this guy, though. He's a wanderer. I have a feeling he will be roaming around this place before long. So let's check on the stock at the Sugarcane Farm. And I've already got 3.5 stacks in there. That's lovely. Another 3.5 in here. It's probably going to be roughly the same across the board. Yep, pretty good. So all in all, we got ourselves a decent amount of sugarcane there. I have been AFKing at this for a couple of hours today, but really not that long. And it's only 6 modules. Like I said, we could build this further up if we wanted to, but I think for the long term, we're probably going to have this sugarcane farm running a whole bunch while we're around here, and I'm not going to need a huge amount of it. We might make a bigger, more industrial one somewhere else if we decide to in future, if we really want to go the whole hog with this stuff, but I think for now this will be good enough. If you're building a sugarcane farm on a server, or you want to have more paper than you know what to do with, then you can go bigger if you want to. All you need to do is repeat that process a few times. So let's trade with this guy. We've got a 27 paper trade. 24 is the best paper trade we can get, but this is pretty good considering he's a guy we could just bring over here. Let's trade with him a couple more times and see if there's anything else we still need to unlock for him. Actually, there is not. So he's got a sharpness 5 trade towards the end here, which is actually really great, and a fortune 1 trade, which is not the best, and I have enough fortune right now, but it's still pretty good. 1 emerald for 5 glass, though, is an absolute steal, so I am absolutely fine trading with that, and we can get ourselves more emeralds this way. All of these emeralds, of course, are going to be traded with my man upstairs, who's going to give us infinity and mending books. This guy seems to be very keen on getting all of the cubbies. He's definitely finding all the little nooks and crannies of this house, isn't he? Maybe we'll have to block him into one of those sooner or later. If he stays still for long enough, I might be able to get him in the minecart this time. Go on, in you go. Over here, over here. Yes, okay, we got him. Fantastic. Right, now let's push him over there. Let's actually disable the powered rails. Let's push him onto this one. Very carefully take out the powered rail from below him. Perfect. There he is, having tea with his mate. Fantastic. I like that. I like the fact that these two are kind of wedged here in the corner. Now, if I can maybe push him a little bit further over that way, well, it looks like he's basically staying there now, doesn't it? Hey, I got it. I got the chair in there. Fantastic. I did actually wonder if it's going to be possible to push the stairs over the minecart there using a piston. Let's try that for a second. I'm curious here. Place the piston down facing that way, pull the lever, and oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it looks a little bit glitchy. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, but I don't know, that kind of works for me. It's okay if he's just kind of sat there. Maybe he's got like a cushion or something. I don't know. It looks a little bit ugly, but I'm sort of okay with it as long as he stays there. All right, and while we're up here, we could always trade some more paper to this librarian who's only got a 33 paper trade, but it means we don't have to worry about unlocking this paper trade again for a little while. Once we've got all of this paper in our inventory, we may as well trade it away to somebody, and we are getting sugarcane for free at this point, so it is very, very easy to trade away as much paper as we've got to this guy in exchange for emeralds, especially when his trades keep unlocking for me, unlike the other guys, so we can just trade away basically the last of our reserves of paper here. We still got enough that we can make some fireworks with if we wanted to. And from this guy, I'm going to grab 2 new books, one of which is going to be another mending book, because it's still amazing that he has this trade for 10 emeralds, and the other one is going to be an infinity book that I can put on my bow, so I never have to worry about arrows again. That's 2 fantastic trades, sir. Thank you so much. And you know what? I think we're going to give this guy a name today. We are not going to name him Patient Zero. We're going to keep that name tag for if I want to cure another zombie villager, but you guys have left a whole bunch of fantastic name suggestions, and if I can find where enough I put the name tags, I keep losing track of those apparently, we are going to name this guy. Now, this name came from Kenneth David Murdoch in the comments. Thank you, Kenneth, for this fantastic name. He suggested naming the villager Mendelssohn. And I think that's fantastic. I actually studied the music of Mendelssohn in one of my exams for college, so that's actually a really great name, close to my heart. And by shift right-clicking on the villager with the name tag, it doesn't open up the trading GUI. It will actually let you name tag him. It's funny, that didn't used to be possible. It used to be that you would have to have 2 players in a world, and one of you would have to open up the trading GUI so that the other player could name it, because right-clicking on a villager, no matter what you did, always opened up the trade interface. But thankfully, that is no longer the case. We can shift right-click on the guy with the name tag and name him Mendelssohn. Welcome to the family. That's really great. And now, obviously, we've got these 2 other villagers down here who aren't quite as valuable as Mendelssohn, but I think they still deserve names. I might still call this guy Patient Zero, actually. It's quite a funny name for a guy who trades rotten flesh, but maybe the other guy will need a name as well. We'll see as that goes on. But now, this mending book, I'm going to apply to my Silk Touch shovel, because the Silk Touch shovel is perhaps one of the most important things in my life, aside from having a decent set of Elytra, so we're going to apply mending to that. And I'm also going to apply Infinity to this bow, which really doesn't cost a huge amount, so that's pretty fantastic. It's only going to cost me 4 levels to do that. Now, while I think about it, I'm actually going to try and apply another Unbreaking book to my Elytra, because I managed to get an Unbreaking 2 enchantment while I was working on getting this Silk Touch shovel in the first place. So I thought we'll add that to the Unbreaking 2 on my Elytra. We'll make that Unbreaking 3, and that is my Elytra all done and dusted. Oh, and the anvil broke. Wow, is that the first time we've had an anvil break in this series? It probably is. So there you go, folks. If you use an anvil too much, they will eventually break and you'll have to make another one. Hopefully we still have enough iron blocks in here that we can make another one. Looks like we do. And we'll pop that back in place. But boy, oh boy, I'm probably going to need an iron farm one of these days, I expect. But before we go, I wanted to have a bit of a chat about me putting mending on my Elytra in the first place, because somebody in the comments of a recent episode, which I think the comment is actually gone now. I think they may have deleted it. I'm not sure. But they did think that it was a little bit of a stupid move for me to put my only mending book at the time on my Elytra. Now, this didn't really take into account the fact that I already had a mending pickaxe that I'd got from an end city, so I was going to combine that with a silk touch or a fortune pickaxe already. But they seem to think that putting mending on my Elytra was a bad move. Now, I took a poll on Twitter, which amazingly reached a lot more people than I thought it would, and in the end, we got 1,500 people voting on whether they should have mending on if you had one mending book, if you would put it on tools, armor, or Elytra. And in the end, more than 50% of people said Elytra. It was 37% said tools, 7% said armor, and 56% finally said Elytra. And I have to say, I agree. Now, the thing about Elytra, for my money, is that you will never find them enchanted in the world in the same way that you will find other pickaxes. Like I said, I'd already got myself a mending diamond pickaxe from the End City loot, and occasionally it is possible to find enchanted pickaxes like that out there when you're raiding End Cities, whereas you will never find an enchanted Elytra. So if you're going to use a mending book on something, maybe use it on something that can't naturally be found with that enchantment. The argument I saw in the comments was that Elytra were a lot cheaper to repair, considering you don't have to spend diamonds to repair them, you have to spend phantom membrane. And while that is true, The thing about repairing stuff in an anvil is that eventually it becomes too expensive. If you end up taking some durability off of a tool and then you try and mend it in an anvil, the repair cost will increase every time you have to make a repair to it. It's usually dictated by where it says 3 NBT tags as well. I think there is a higher price for something that has got multiple kind of tags on it, usually multiple enchantments or something like that. But even with Unbreaking 3, we would eventually wear this Elytra down, have to repair it with Phantom Membrane, and each time the cost doubles. So it would take 1 level to repair your Elytra with Phantom Membrane the first time, which doesn't seem like much, but then the next time it would take 2 levels, the next time it would take 4 levels, after that it would take 8 levels, after that 16, probably 32 levels after that, and once something needs more than 39 levels to repair it, Minecraft won't actually let you repair it. It will actually come up here and say too expensive instead of any kind of enchantment cost, and I'm amazed, quite frankly, that I couldn't combine those 2 pickaxes for a higher value than 36. But there we go. That's the problem with mending stuff repeatedly in an anvil as opposed to applying a mending enchantment. The problem with repairing it is that eventually it becomes too expensive to repair, at which point you would have to go and find another Elytra. You wouldn't have any other option. And Elytra are way more risky to obtain than diamonds are. I know people who don't like to go to the end because the void scares them, and so they only have 1 pair of Elytra, or they've never had Elytra at all. It's kind of a risk assessment, really. Like, going mining for diamonds, all you have to do is go down to diamond level and strip mine for a little bit. It really doesn't take all that long. It's time consuming, sure, but it's mostly a very safe practice. The worst thing you're going to run into is maybe a couple of underground mobs if you didn't light the area up properly, or a lava lake, which is very easy to take care of if you've watched my episode on how to get diamonds. The other thing is you can't enchant an Elytra naturally in the enchantment table. If you put this in there, it's not going to show up any results, and obviously it wouldn't if you put an enchanted item in there anyway, but even a completely unenchanted Elytra will not get you any enchantments in the table, so you're going to have to put at least Unbreaking on it if you want it to last a little while. Whereas I have a whole bunch of diamonds in here now. I have over 2 stacks of diamonds that I could turn into tools, and I'd be pretty much guaranteed to get decent enchants like Efficiency, Unbreaking, and Fortune on them all the time. In fact, it took me long enough to get a Silk Touch shovel because it kept coming up Fortune every time. And so far I haven't even mentioned the fact that if you trade a couple of times with a toolsmith or a weaponsmith, any kind of blacksmith villager, they will end up selling you enchanted diamond weapons and tools. So it's actually super easy to get those. Once you've got a decent source of emeralds, you can have as many diamond tools as you want. There are armor smiths who will also sell you enchanted diamond armor. If they've got low-level enchantments, you combine them. If they don't have the enchantments you want, you end up combining them in your inventory, which removes the enchantments, or in a grindstone if you're already playing in the 1.14 snapshots, and then you enchant them in the table yourself for just a few lapis and some levels. Now, my buddy Zloy also pointed out that if you enchant a fishing rod with mending, you would be able to fish up more mending books, and the rod would constantly repair itself because of the experience you get from fishing, which I think is probably the best point I saw made during this whole argument. However, it is still also possible for you to fish up a fishing rod with mending on it already, which you could just combine with an existing fishing rod and save that mending book for your Elytra. So anyway, that's my argument. That's why I think it's a smart move to put your mending book on an Elytra. But frankly, if you have a guy who can trade you mending books, you don't need to worry too much about that, and ultimately it's up to you. It's Minecraft. The game is entirely your own, and I think whatever choice you make, it's probably going to be a smart one, unless you put mending on a hoe, in which case you've doomed us all. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.